Colombian city of Santa Marta hosts the fourth summit between the community of Latin American and Caribbean states and the European Union. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip Pierre called for the dissolution of Parliament and announced general elections that will be held on the country on December 1st. And on Sunday, the United States Senate achieved the majority vote necessary to advance a bill that would end the federal government shutdown. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. The fourth summit between the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, and the European Union kicked off on Sunday in the Colombian city of Santa Marta. The meeting, which continues through Monday, is being held at the Santa Marta Convention Center, seeking to establish lines of cooperation between the blocs, as well as to review common bi-regional problems that require a roadmap and coordination to achieve positive results. During its first day, Colombian President Gustavo Petro emphasized that Europe, Latin America, and the Caribbean must unify their criteria for denouncing any aggression that goes against the principles of multilateralism and global democracy. In the joint final declaration of the CELAC-EU summit, the Colombian head of state emphasized that the solution to global problems such as the climate crisis and poverty requires the joint commitment of all humanity, not of individual countries in isolation.
There is no way to solve these problems without the commitment of all of humanity and its current state representatives. No country can solve the problem of the climate crisis on its own. No country can solve problems such as poverty on its own. No country can manage the issues of information in the digital economy today. No country alone can solve the problems of humanity, and the way to do this is not for one country to simply arrogate to itself the right to solve them. But rather that we do it together, and what we have demonstrated, and the world in the midst of barbarities that are advancing, genocides that have undoubtedly insisted that we can talk about democracy and common agreements.
Also in this context, during his speech at the fourth CELAC and EU summit, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil read a letter sent by President Nicolás Maduro urging countries in the region to form a common front to preserve peace in the Caribbean.
Today, in the face of the threat of war in the Caribbean and the executions that have been denounced by the United Nations, we are obliged to preserve peace in the region by joining forces as countries and demanding with one voice the immediate cessation of military attacks and threats against our peoples. Justice, peace, and respect for the United Nations Charter must be restored. The international community must demand accountability for the attacks and respect for the human rights of all people without exception.
Nations categorically states that the attacks by the United States in the Caribbean and the Pacific constitute a violation of international human rights law. During the regular press briefing of the UN Secretary General, his spokesperson Farhan Haq reiterated the opinion of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. In this context, he stated that these airstrikes in these operations violate international law, especially considering the aggravating factor that none of the people executed posed a threat to others. These attacks, openly supported by Venezuela's extremist far-right opposition, have claimed the lives of nearly 70 people, none of whom had the opportunity to prove their innocence.
Well, on this, the Secretary General supports the views of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, who has made it clear that the airstrikes are in violation of international human rights law. According to the High Commissioner for Human Rights, based on the information that's been available so far, none of the individuals on the targeted boats appear to pose an imminent threat to the lives of others or otherwise justify the use of lethal armed force against them under international law. And of course, we want to make sure that established law enforcement methods are used to deal with questions of illegal trafficking on the high seas. Stefano.
And on Sunday, another shipment of humanitarian aid left Venezuela bound for eastern Cuba to help those affected by Hurricane Melissa. The before-mentioned cargo counts with more than 5,000 tons of food, medicine, household goods, and toys. From the international port of La Guaira, the ship set sail with 102 containers sent by President Nicolas Maduro through the Alba Bank. It was also announced that a brigade of 22 electrical workers was departing to help repair the damage caused by the weather phenomenon. This is the second shipment of humanitarian aid from the Bolivarian Republic to Cuba, following the delivery by air of 26 tons of food and other supplies on October 30th.
El Aeropuerto Internacional Simón Bolívar en nombre.
We are speaking out from the International Airport Simón Bolívar in the name of President Nicolas Maduro, with 22 professionals in the areas of electric energy, transport, and public works. 22 chosen professionals, the best professionals in each of their specialties that will go to Cuba to strengthen the Cuban teams after what you have gone through, the passage of Hurricane Melissa that caused damage. The Sister Republic of Cuba must understand that these 22 professionals going to the Sister Republic of Cuba will strengthen the teams. There they have the purpose of being able to recover the power line, being able to make diagnosis to continue sending aid that will arrive in the next hours.
Que seguirán llegando en pocas horas. Nosotros enviamos más de 5,000.
Just a few hours ago, we sent more than 5,000 tons of food, toys, medicines, all kind of goods. A few hours away from the pass of Hurricane Melissa, we asked the ambassador when the airport opens the best, at 8 in the morning to 9 in the morning. Venezuela was already there. It must be clear that today we are seeing these 22 professionals next to brother Ambassador Jorge Mayo in the manifestation of love from one people to another.
De amor de un pueblo.
And more on the climate crisis across the world. Super Typhoon Fungwang battered the Philippines' northeastern coast ahead of landfall on Sunday, leaving at least 2 people dead and forcing more than 1 million people to evacuate. The climate phenomenon approached the Pacific coast while the Philippines was still dealing with the devastation caused by Typhoon Kalmegi, which left at least 224 people dead in the central provinces on Tuesday before hitting Vietnam, where at least 5 people lost their lives as well. The typhoon reached maximum sustained winds of up to 185 kilometers per hour and gusts of up to 230 kilometers per hour. More than 1 million people were evacuated from high-risk villages in northeastern provinces, including in Baikal, a coastal region vulnerable to Pacific cyclones and mudflows from Mayon, one of the country's most active volcanoes. Now we have a short break coming up, but first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. We continue with more information. On Sunday, St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philippe Pierre called for the dissolution of Parliament as the first step towards holding general elections on December 1st. This request is made to the Governor General, who will issue a proclamation to officially end the current parliamentary session. This process stops all parliamentary businesses and initiates a new short election campaign. In the press conference, the Prime Minister referred to the last election process dating from 2021, announcing as well the general polls schedule.
Today, I advise the Governor General to dissolve the Parliament of St. Lucia tomorrow, Monday, 10th November 2025, and to issue writs of elections to pave the way for the general election. The general election will be held on Monday, 1st December 2025. Nomination day will be Friday, 21st November 2025. I thank you.
Meanwhile, on Sunday, the United States Senate achieved the majority vote necessary to advance a bill that would end the federal government shutdown. The Senate reached the 60 votes needed to take the first step towards ending the shutdown. In this scenario, 8 Democratic senators agreed to support a package that would fund multiple agencies and programs for the entire fiscal year until January 30th, 2026. However, some senators assert that the decision will destroy the healthcare system and make it much more expensive for the majority of citizens. In this regard, Democratic Senator Bernie Sanders claims that pleasing the country's top 1% of millionaires will cost nearly 50,000 U.S. lives per year. And in Mexico, the government launched a comprehensive operation in Michoacán to confront violence and address its structural causes. Authorities asserted and assured that the security plan in Michoacán, one of the most violent regions of the country, combines the deployment of over 10,000 soldiers to prevent the operation of criminal groups in the area. In parallel, officials announced the implementation of social programs and a campaign to address the structural causes of insecurity. The operation was announced following the assassination of Uruapan Mayor Carlos Manzo and aims to pacify one of the regions most affected by crime in the country. We go now to Madrid as Foreign Minister José Manuel Álvarez acknowledged the pain and injustice caused to indigenous people during the invasion of America in the context of the inauguration of the exhibition Half of the World, Women in Indigenous Mexico. From Spain, our colleague Álvaro Fragua with the details.
El gobierno español habla por primera vez
The Spanish government speaks for the first time of light and shadow, and of grievances that can neither be denied nor forgotten. These words come with the exhibition that brings together works by indigenous Mexican women and reopens a historical debate.
Hubo injusticia.
There was injustice, and it is only fair to acknowledge it today and to regret it.
Es lamentarlo.
Desde México, Claudia Sheinbaum
From Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum welcomed the gesture and described it as a first step towards a relationship based on historical truth. 6.
Es la primera vez que
This is the first time that a Spanish government official has spoken of regretting the injustice.
habla de lamentar.
It is important. From my point of view, it is a first step.
Desde mi punto de vista, un primer paso.
En España, activistas
In
indígenas
Spain, indigenous activists demand that recognition be translated into policy, truth, reparation, and an end to economic interference in indigenous territories.
Pues primero, empezar a hacer una revisión histórica.
First, start by conducting a historical review. Begin to review and take responsibility for those sentences. For example, the sentence imposed on T. Pacamaru on May 18, 1781, which his direct descendants, even in Cusco, still demand be annulled.
Exigen que esa sentencia sea anulada.
denuncian también el expolio
They
material.
also denounce the material and symbolic plundering, return of property, respect for memories, and guarantees of non-repetition.
Cambiar políticas.
It is necessary change methods so that they stop interfering in our internal policies, so that their transnational companies leave our territories, so that they stop influencing our internal policies.
Funcionar nuestra política interna.
Entre los pueblos originarios
Among the
agraviados,
indigenous peoples who have been wronged, the Mapuche case stands out. They have managed to bring their demands to the UN and are relying on historical treaties with Spain and Chile to save their future. In addition, they denounce current extractivism and its human costs.
humanos.
La ratificación de los parlamentos.
The ratification of the parliaments and historical treaties we have signed with Spain, based on the recognition of the rights of the Mapuche people.
Reconocimiento de los derechos del pueblo mapuche.
Mientras se encarcela al pueblo mapuche, la
While the
violencia
Mapuche people are imprisoned, violence against their members goes unpunished. November 8th marks 1 year since the disappearance of leader Julia Chil. Her family suspects murder by settlers with foresting interests.
El pueblo mapuche, Gualmapu, existe
The Mapuche or Walmapu people exist because they are alive and continue to defend their territory, but at a high cost in terms of prisoners and the construction of new structures.
de construcción de nuevas cárceles.
Los activistas denuncian que las
Activists denounce that Spanish companies protected by the government also benefit from resources in Mapuche land.
La llegada de las empresas
The arrival of extractive companies in our territory, such as salmon farms, for example. We have a long list of companies that take all the natural resources from there. For example, Donny Canning Company, which is from Barcelona, right?
que son de Barcelona, ¿no?
Las palabras importan, pero
Words
más
matter, but even more important are the policies that follow them: truth, concrete reparations, return of plundered property, and guarantees of non-repetition. From Mexico to Walmapu, indigenous peoples continue to defend their lives, their memory, and the future of their existence.
Álvaro Fragua, desde Madrid para Telesur.
We have a short break coming up now, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverages, and much more. Follow the page and activate notifications to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Palestine, a campaign to vaccinate about 40,000 children under the age of 3 began on Sunday. Let's see more details.
Gaza's health ministry launched Sunday a catch-up vaccination campaign targeting children under the age of 3 who missed their basic vaccination during Israel's two-year genocide on the enclave. The drive aims to protect against preventable diseases such as measles, polio, and meningitis, after months of war-disrupted routine immunizations. In this context, physician Mahmoud Saleh explained that the measures would give priority to children who haven't received full doses. The vaccination campaign, a catch-up campaign, began today. It's essential for every child who missed vaccinations due to displacement and was unable to receive them. We are administering these vaccines according to the schedule prepared for each child. There was a very high turnout on the first day of the vaccination campaign. Children make up 47% of Gaza's total population, reaching around 980,000 individuals, according to the Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics last April. In a statement, the ministry said the campaign is being implemented in cooperation with the UN Agency for Palestine Refugees and the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, with support from the World Health Organization and the UN Children's Fund. Thousands of Palestinians accompanied their children to medical centers and health points designated by the ministry to receive the vaccines and strengthen their children's immunity.
I came to give my son his first month vaccination. Because of the conditions we live in, I was afraid that I would not be able to give my son the vaccinations, so I came here to give my son his first month vaccination out of fear for his health because we live in tents, our health situation is non-existent, and we are surrounded by sewage. We were supposed to get the vaccine 10 days ago, but I was delayed because of the displacement. Thank God the ceasefire started, and we came and got this vaccine. The 2-month vaccine is important because it protects against 8 diseases. We also have environmental issues, sewage problems, and garbage in the streets.
During the Israeli war, the health ministry, in cooperation with international organizations, launched 2 emergency vaccination drives against polio, the first on September 1, 2024, and the second on February 22, 2025. This campaign is set to last 10 days and will be carried out in 3 stages, each separated by a 1-month interval, according to the Health Ministry.
China's 15th National Games, hosted for the first time across Guangdong, Hong Kong and Macau, opened on Sunday evening with a ceremony highlighting cultural heritage and technological innovation.
For the first time since the inaugural National Games in 1959, the event is being staged across 3 regions: Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. The opening ceremony underscored unity, as athletes from all 3 regions entered the stadium together to loud applause. Chinese national flags in the main stadium in Guangzhou, as well as in Hong Kong and Macau, were raised simultaneously, reflecting Greater Bay Area cooperation and national pride. Performances showcased Greater Bay Area traditions alongside newer elements, including the Ying dance, Guangdong Lion dance, and Cantonese opera. The ceremony also paid tribute to the region's martial arts heritage, noting figures such as Wang Fei Hung, Ip Man, and Bruce Lee, and positioned those references alongside modern sport. Iconic landmarks such as Hong Kong's Victoria Harbour, the ruins of St. Paul's in Macau, and Guangzhou's Canton Tower, were brought to life through dazzling projections. The first chapter, titled Shared Roots, traced historical ties among the 3 regions. Dancers performed alongside intelligent robots that played gaodiao, a traditional musical instrument similar to chime bells. The second act highlighted the richness of Lingnan culture, from Cantonese opera to Wing Chun. Augmented reality elements accompanied the Guangdong Lion dance, while VR and AR technologies brought a dragon boat race to life. The final segment brought together renowned performers from across the Greater Bay Area. Chinese President Xi Jinping attended the opening ceremony and declared the Games open, marking the first time the country's premier multi-sport event has been jointly hosted by Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. International Olympic Committee President Kirsty Coventry and Honorary President for Life Thomas Bach were also present at the opening ceremony. Running from November 9th to 21, the 15th National Games include 34 sports with 419 events in the competitive program, and 23 sports featuring 166 events in the mass participation program.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.